let us establish the foundation of all this before we confront these failures. From where you sit, what was broken in Kenya's disability framework that made this act not just important, but urgent?
Yeah. So when I came into Parliament in 2022, first time legislator, my resolve was to start immediately on repealing the old 2003 Act. The reason is because, number one, it's pre-constitution. So our constitution, as everybody knows, is 2010. And so this act, the old act rather, was pre-constitution, meaning it wasn't even in line with our aspirations as a country, number one. Number two, it was also pre-United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. This is a convention, it's an instrument, it's a tool that many states have assigned to, including Kenya, in 2008, I believe. And so this 2003 Act was older than the UN CRPD that we are signatory to as a country, which talks about how to treat people with disabilities, that disability rights are human rights. It takes away disability as a charity model, medical model, like they've all spoken about, and moves it into a human rights model. Like, this is intrinsically our right. We are deserving of being part and parcel of any society. So that's the bottom line, the first things that I recognize as being a huge problem and a huge gap. Secondly, the old act was not in line with technological advancements, processes that have thus far since that 2003 moved on. It's not in line with ideologies and just leaps and bounds that have been made in disability rights and mainstreaming disability in general. So there are many gaps that I saw there. And then, of course, people in Kenya were calling for a new act in general, because the old one hadn't worked. For whatever reason, implementation was very, very low, very poor. And so I wanted to come in and also add different angles, including accessibility, universal design. Those are things that have never even been thought of or written in the old act. Yeah. Interesting.
And still on this, there's a question I have in mind, but I want to put that on the back burner for a second. But I want to tap into your own experience in light of what you just said. When you came in 2022, that was your main aim, that was your main target. You fought for this act. Talk to us a little bit about resistance. Where did you find resistance towards this act, and from whom, and why?
So when I first came in, of course, through my party leader had given me this assignment, right? He was like, this is one of the things that I want you to be able to complete in this term. And so when I came in, the biggest resistance or barrier, I think, was people looking at me like, oh, that's just that's an other issue. On a form you have, a list, and then at the bottom you have other. This was othered, unfortunately, this act, or rather what I was bringing to the table as a core sort of subject matter in Parliament. Now, previously, of course, there have been other people representing people with disabilities in different arms of government. However, I wanted to come in with fresh ideas, also show people that a person with disability is and can be just like everybody else. So authenticity was also part of my push, so that people can see me not just as a person fighting for disability, but a whole person, with all of who I am and my personality, my character is in the job. Secondly, the resistance I felt was trying to make people understand. So I was doing two jobs at once. Writing this bill, or writing this act, and then at the same time training everyone in Parliament about how to treat me, people with disabilities, how to accommodate us, how to give reasonable access in the building, how to have technology and devices for people with disabilities in the building. So it was like two jobs at once, actually, going parallel.
On that note, did it surprise you just how much training was needed when you got to this big house where every law in this country is made, which should be literally the cutting edge where everything is?
Right.
Did it surprise you how much needed to shift?
Absolutely. You would think that at that level, at the national level, like the apex of society, they would be like at a different, they would be leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else, but actually it's just as bad. It was just as bad. Of course, you know, they tried because they've had other legislators in parliament. They've never had a visually impaired parliamentarian for several years pre-constitution. So I was a new sort of, I don't know, problem to solve, I suppose.
That is mind-boggling, gentlemen and lady. That is shocking to contemplate. Can you imagine that? And of course with the understanding, or maybe the assumption that that house represents the best of us, the best of Kenya. And there's such gaps. I mean, that's shocking right there.
Something as simple as, you know, there's a timer in chambers where everyone can see how much time you have left when you're contributing. I asked them, so how am I supposed to see, Mr. Speaker? Right. Like, when we start, what's going to happen? Oh, my goodness, we haven't even thought about that. Things like that, you know. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Elijah, I want to bring you in here for a bit.